Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and First Lady Olena Zelenska paid tribute on Thursday to those killed in the country's 2014 anti-government protests. According to Associated Press, Zelensky and the First Lady were seen placing candles at a memorial dedicated to those killed who have become known as the Heavenly 100 Heroes in Kiev. On November 21, 2013, the Moscow-friendly president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, announced he was shelving an agreement to bring the country closer to the European Union and instead would deepen ties with President Vladimir Putin's Russia. Outraged crowds soon filled Independence Square for peaceful anti-government protests. Later, after riot police used truncheons and tear gas to disperse the people, demonstrators set up tent camps with barricades, self-defense units and banners with revolutionary slogans. In response to the police violence, hundreds of thousands joined the demonstrations in early December. The standoff reached a climax in February 2014, when police unleashed a brutal crackdown on the protests and dozens of people were slain between February 18 to 21, many by police snipers. A European-mediated peace deal between the government and protest leaders envisioned the formation of a transition government and holding an early election, but demonstrators later seized government buildings, and Yanukovych fled to Russia. The Ukrainian Institute of National Remembrance said 107 people were killed in the uprising.
The biggest source of tension within the Russian elites in 2024 was the purge of the defense ministry. The Moscow Times media outlet recalls that Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu was moved to a different post, and several dozen officials were detained over the course of many months, including 3 former deputy defense ministers. The shake-up was likely conceived as a way to improve the management of Russia's ballooning military spending. In order to speed up the process of clearing out Shoigu-era placeholders, the Kremlin opted for a method that could be described as rotation through repression. This is not a new approach, but the scale of what occurred at the ministry is unprecedented. The purge has not only redirected rent flows associated with the ministry, but also led to the dismantling of Shoigu's entire clan within the Russian elite. Although Shoigu seems for the moment to be under the personal protection of President Vladimir Putin, he has been powerless to intervene in unfolding events. The Moscow Times says that the easiest way to understand the purge is to look at the criminal cases that followed the first and most high-profile arrest, that of Shoigu's longtime associate, ex-Deputy Defense Minister Timur Ivanov. Each wave of arrests seemed to lead to new arrests in turn, as well as generate new charges against Ivanov himself. After Ivanov's arrest in April 2024, he was charged with the embezzlement of 1.18 billion rubles or $11.5 million. That was followed by the arrest of 2 other senior officials at the Defense Ministry, Yuri Kuznetsov, accused of selling state secrets to contractors linked with Ivanov, and Vladimir Verteletsky, who oversaw spending on digitization. All 3 men maintained their innocence, and Ivanov's lawyer sought to get him moved to house arrest on the basis that Ivanov was subject to Western sanctions, had participated in military action, and been decorated. Ultimately, however, none of that helped. On the contrary, there was another wave of arrests in July arising from the documents seized by investigators in April. This time, the men who ended up behind bars were Andrei Belkov, a military contractor used by Ivanov, and another former deputy defense minister, Dmitry Bulgakov. In turn, the July arrests led to another rash of criminal cases that encompassed construction and military logistics as a whole. As a result of the arrest of Bulgakov, security officers detained the head of military equipment retailer Vontog, Vladimir Pavlov, and several of his business associates. A third wave of arrests in August included the head of the war-themed Patriot Park, Vyacheslav Akhmedov, and yet another former defense minister, Pavel Popov, was close to Shoigu. Since then, the arrests have spread to numerous institutions connected to the former leadership of the defense ministry, varying from Rosgvardia, Russia's National Guard, which is also involved in state defense contracts, to a little-known organization, Oboronles, which manages forests on the territory of military bases and supplies timber to the government of the Moscow region. The Moscow Times recalls that in 8 months of purges, therefore, several major rent flows have been disrupted and charges filed against dozens of officials linked with Shoigu across a whole spectrum of different agencies and organizations. Ivanov is currently implicated in 2 criminal cases, and investigators have hinted there may be more to come. Neither Ivanov nor Popov have sought to cut a deal with investigators. By pushing ahead to seize the 2 men's assets, though, it appears investigators want to pressure them to give evidence against Shoigu himself. When given the green light to these arrests, it's possible Putin didn't expect investigators to take to their task with such enthusiasm. But the rivalries between Russia's security agencies run deep, and the Federal Security Service and the Investigative Committee have accumulated many grudges against the military over the years. Evidently, they've decided to take full advantage of the opportunity, both reanimating old criminal cases and opening new ones. The Pantsir S-1E anti-aircraft missile and cannon system, previously exported from Libya, was spotted on the territory of the Fort Irwin National Training Center in California. The Pantsir S-1E anti-aircraft missile and cannon system was detected on the territory of the Fort Irwin National Training Center in California. Footage of the Russian system was published by the Telegram channel Military Informant. According to reports, this complex was removed from Libya in June 2020 after the fighting for Tripoli. A C-17 military transport aircraft of the US Air Force transported him from the Libyan Zuwara airfield to Germany to the Ramstein base and then delivered him to the United States. Currently, Pantsir S-1E is still in working condition and fully functional. And not so long ago, US President Donald Trump announced his intention to allow European countries to purchase weapons from the American military-industrial complex for supplies to Ukraine. Pantsir S-1 has combined missile and gun weapons, a short reaction time, and the ability of a combat vehicle to conduct reconnaissance and engagement of air targets in motion. Pantsir S-1 is designed for air defense of small military, administrative, and industrial facilities and areas, including mobile ones, against fixed and rotary-winged aircraft, cruise missiles, and high-precision weapons, as well as for strengthening air defense units against massive airstrikes. The missile system has a range of up to 20 kilometers and can shoot at targets up to 15,000 meters in altitude, while its guns have a range of up to 4,000 meters and can reach heights of up to 3,000 meters. The best use for the weapon is in small military, administrative, and industrial facilities. The system is also designed to strengthen Russia's air defense units against massive airstrikes. There's a mobile version of the Pantsir S-1 that includes a combat vehicle with up to 6 vehicles in a battery, guns that can shoot 30mm rounds, and a transporter loader vehicle. The Russians claim that the Pantsir missile is often used to shoot down Ukrainian missiles and fighter jets. Russia is not the only country that uses the Pantsir as part of its military response. Algeria, Ethiopia, Iraq, Libya, the United Arab Emirates, and Serbia also use it, according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies.